There's a secret to the male mind that very few women know, a secret that Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists in history, studied for decades. Have you ever noticed how some men become completely captivated by a woman at the very moment they feel they are losing their grip on the situation? This isn't a coincidence or a cheap trick. It's a deep mechanism within the male psyche that very few understand. The surprising truth is that a man will never truly value what he believes is guaranteed. He needs a challenge, a sense of tension and uncertainty that makes him see a woman as a prize, as someone who cannot be completely won over. When a woman understands this principle, she can literally change his behavior without saying a single word. Have you ever wondered why so many amazing women are overlooked by men who don't appreciate them, while others, seemingly less remarkable, can capture any man's heart? The answer lies in one of the most fundamental mechanisms of the male mind, what Jung called the warrior archetype. Since ancient times, masculinity has been built around the idea of a meaningful pursuit. A man needs to feel that he is striving for something valuable. If you give him everything without any resistance or mystery, something inside him simply fades. His interest cools, his desire diminishes, and he starts looking for new challenges, often without even realizing what's happening. What I am about to reveal is not a manipulative technique, but a profound understanding of male psychology that will completely transform your relationships. Ignoring a man the wrong way can push him away forever, but doing it correctly can awaken a level of attraction and commitment you never dreamed possible. In the next few minutes, I will explain how to activate a psychological principle that makes a man feel an almost obsessive need to prove his worth to you. This knowledge is so powerful that once you grasp it, you will never be his second choice again. And please note, what I'm sharing is not based on personal opinions or vague advice from magazines. This is about deep psychological patterns studied by Carl Jung, which show how the male mind truly operates on an unconscious level. If you've ever felt invisible to a man you truly care about, if you've wondered why he doesn't show the same interest and devotion as you do, then what I'm about to share could change everything. You will understand why common methods of winning a man over often fail, and how a simple shift in your approach can dramatically change the dynamic of your relationship. Get ready, because what you're about to learn contradicts almost everything you've probably been taught about relationships. Before we continue, I want you to do something simple. Write the word value in the comments. This word has a deep significance in what we're about to discuss. I want to see how many women are truly ready to understand the secret Carl Jung discovered about the male psyche. Done? Excellent. Now, let's dive into the psychological mechanism that can turn a man from completely indifferent to utterly devoted to you. This information is known to very few women and has the power to completely change the dynamic of any relationship, starting today. Carl Jung, one of history's greatest psychologists, dedicated much of his life to studying the hidden mechanisms of the human mind, and his discoveries about the male psyche are fascinating. According to Jung, there is a deep structure in the male unconscious that few people understand, but which completely governs a man's behavior in relationships. This structure, which he called the warrior archetype, is a primal force that drives a man to value only what he earns through effort and dedication. Think about it. Have you noticed how some men lose interest when a woman becomes too available, too giving, too open? It's not because they don't like her or are just players. It's because something deep in their psyche shuts down when the element of challenge disappears. Jung explained that a man on his psychological journey needs a goal that challenges him and forces him to prove his worth. When everything is handed to him easily, his unconscious mind perceives it as a battle already won, and the desire naturally begins to fade. This is a truth that many women discover in the most painful way. They give their all. They are always available, always understanding, always waiting. And paradoxically, this makes a man value them less and less. It's a harsh but deeply ingrained mechanism of the male psyche. You need to understand that ignoring a man correctly isn't about childish games or manipulation. It's about a deep understanding of male psychology that allows you to adopt a position that activates his most fundamental instincts. Let's break down what really happens in a man's mind when a woman is completely available to him. At first, it feeds his ego. He feels powerful, desired, and important. But over time, the male psyche begins to perceive constant availability as a lack of challenge. And without a challenge, the warrior archetype within him simply goes to sleep. He no longer needs to prove his worth, to pursue, or to strive. And it is precisely this struggle that keeps the flame of desire alive. Jung spoke of a phenomenon he called the tension of opposites. This is the idea that the human mind is drawn to a balance between opposing forces, desire and distance, closeness and mystery, certainty and doubt. When you eliminate one side of this equation by offering total availability, absolute predictability, and unconditional surrender, you disrupt the fundamental tension that sustains interest. The result is that the man gradually starts to value what he has less and less without even being consciously aware of it. So, what does it mean to ignore a man correctly? This isn't about playing childish games, faking indifference, or creating unnecessary drama. It's something much deeper, restoring the psychological balance in the relationship through what Jung called a strategic withdrawal of energy. When you are constantly available, you invest all your emotional energy into him, creating a fundamental imbalance. Correctly ignoring him means reallocating that energy back to yourself. This is where many women make a critical mistake. They think that ignoring means disappearing completely, stopping all communication and creating a total void. While this might work temporarily, it often backfires. The man perceives the silence as a final rejection and walks away. The correct way to ignore him, according to Jungian principles, is far more subtle and powerful. It's about creating what psychologists call an emotional deficit. You don't disappear physically, you become emotionally less available. You might reply to his messages, but not with the same intensity as before. You interact normally, but without the urgency to please him. You remain polite, but you remove the anxiety for his approval. It's a subtle shift, almost imperceptible on a conscious level, but it sends powerful signals to his unconscious mind. The man starts to feel that something has changed, but he can't quite pinpoint what it is. This uncertainty creates a state of alertness in his mind. The primal fear of loss is awakened. Jung explained that the male unconscious holds a deep terror of being insignificant, of being replaced, of losing its important place. When your emotional presence diminishes without explanation, without arguments, just a subtle withdrawal of energy, something inside him begins to worry. This is the moment the transformation happens. The man who once took you for granted now feels an inner unease. Questions start to form in his head. What changed? Why does she seem different? Am I losing her? This is the moment when the dormant warrior archetype begins to awaken. The battle he thought was won suddenly feels uncertain again. And it is this very uncertainty that rekindles desire, attention, and interest. The power of this approach lies in the fact that you are not creating an artificial situation. You are simply restoring the energetic balance in the relationship. You are making it clear, not with words but with actions, that your emotional energy, attention, time, and devotion are not infinite resources he can access without reciprocity. You are communicating on a deep level, beyond words, that your presence in his life is a choice, not a guarantee. Jung spoke of the concept of individuation, the process by which a person becomes a fully realized self, independent of external influences. By practicing this method of engaging with a man, you are actually advancing in your own process of individuation. You stop being a satellite orbiting him and become a planet with your own gravity. And it is this autonomy, this independent gravitational pull, that paradoxically attracts him with much greater force. The mistake many women make is believing that they need to do more, give more, and be more available to win a man's sincere interest. Jungian psychology shows the opposite. It is your well-regulated absence, your strategic distance, and your emotional independence that awaken in him a deep desire to win you back. Not because he's afraid of losing you physically, but because he feels he is losing his place in your emotional world. And for the male unconscious, that is a challenge he cannot ignore. Now, I will tell you how to apply this knowledge in practice, how to dose this withdrawal of energy so that it is neither too little, leaving him in his comfort zone, nor too much, causing him to give up. There is a precise point, a perfect balance, that completely changes the dynamic of the relationship, causing him to shift from indifference to an absolute commitment to earn his place in your life. The correct way to create this dynamic is through what I call absent presence. You are physically present, but emotionally distanced. You respond to messages, but without the usual urgency. You smile, but you're not trying to please him. You communicate, but you don't reveal everything. It is a subtle change in the energy you transmit, not in specific actions. And this energetic shift sends a profound message to his unconscious. I am no longer a guarantee in your life. This is the most powerful message you can send to the male mind. When a man senses this change, something extraordinary happens in his psyche. The fear of loss is activated, one of the most primal human fears. This isn't an irrational conscious fear, but a deep unease, a discomfort he can't quite name. Jung explained that the unconscious mind doesn't operate with logic, but with symbols and feelings. Your sudden emotional distance becomes a powerful symbol of potential loss, and the male mind cannot stand this empty space. Pay attention. When you practice this strategic withdrawal of energy, the man will start to do things he never did before. He will initiate conversations more often, ask what's wrong, and seek your attention in ways he hadn't considered before. This happens because you have suddenly become a mystery that needs to be solved again. The warrior archetype within him awakens, and now he feels a pressing need to reclaim his place in your life. This is not manipulation, it is deep psychology in action. A key point to understand is that timing is absolutely crucial. If you do this too early, before he has formed a real connection with you, he will simply move on. If you do it too late, when he has already completely lost interest, it may not work. The ideal moment is when you notice the first signs that he is starting to take you for granted. His messages are delayed. Plans depend solely on his schedule. You realize you are investing far more energy into the relationship than he is. Most women react to these signs in completely the wrong way. They try to compensate for the imbalance by giving even more, becoming even more available and understanding. It's a natural impulse, but it only worsens the imbalance. The Jungian approach teaches the opposite. This is the time to create space, to restore the energetic balance, to make him feel that his place in your life is no longer an absolute guarantee. Here is the precise protocol for creating this dynamic based on the principles of Jungian psychology. First, gradually reduce your emotional availability. This doesn't mean you stop answering messages or ignore calls. It means you reply without the usual urgency, without the desire to please, without anxiety for his approval. Your responses become shorter, more objective, and less emotionally charged. You are present, but not fully available. Second, reallocate your life energy. If you used to spend hours thinking about him, waiting for messages, and planning your time together, redirect that energy toward yourself. Develop new hobbies, strengthen friendships, and pursue personal projects. Jung spoke of the importance of psychic energy. When you withdraw it from an object, in this case, the man, and invest it in yourself, you create your own gravitational force that will paradoxically draw him back. Third, create a subtle aura of mystery. This isn't about lying or making up stories. It's about not always being an open book, available to explain every thought, feeling, and decision. Allow yourself to be a little enigmatic, not out of artificiality, but because you are genuinely redirecting your focus to other areas of your life. If he asks what has changed, don't give long explanations. A simple, "I've just been focusing more on myself lately," is enough. Fourth, maintain an impeccable position of dignity. This is not about punishing, creating drama, or being rude. Remain kind, well-mannered, and polite, but with a subtle layer of emotional distance. Jung emphasized that true transformation comes not from superficial manipulations, but from profound changes in how you relate to yourself and, consequently, to others. Fifth, and most importantly, do not give in to his first attempts to regain your attention. This is where most women falter. When he finally starts seeking your attention, initiating conversations and showing interest, many immediately revert to the old pattern of complete availability, and the cycle repeats. The key to lasting transformation is to maintain this new position even when he starts to respond. This is not a temporary tactic. It's a new way of positioning yourself in the relationship. What happens when you follow this protocol is nothing short of remarkable. The male mind enters a state that Jung called creative tension. He begins to feel that he must earn back his place in your life, that he needs to prove his worth again. It's as if a switch flips in his brain, transforming him from a satisfied hunter into a warrior with a mission. Now for the most important part of this revelation. The reason this approach works is not that you are manipulating his feelings, but that you are awakening the best in him. Jung believed that every person has the potential for growth and evolution, which often lies dormant until challenged. When you refuse to accept less than you deserve, when you show through actions, not words or ultimatums, that your presence in his life is valuable and must be treated as such, you create the space for him to grow. Many women don't realize that their constant availability, understanding, and willingness to accept less than they deserve inadvertently hinder a man's growth. It's as if they are saying, "You don't need to evolve. You don't need to try. You don't need to be better. I accept you as you are, even if it means being a second option." The Jungian approach flips this dynamic. Your strategic emotional absence creates the space for him to realize that he needs to do more, be better, and give more. It's crucial to understand that this is not about manipulative games or power tactics. We are talking about a profound rethinking of relationship dynamics based on fundamental psychological principles. You are not pretending to be indifferent. You are genuinely redirecting your energy to yourself. You are not punishing. You are valuing yourself. You are not creating drama. You are establishing balance. And it is this authenticity that makes the approach so powerful. Jung's research shows that a man, deep down, desires a woman who is a mystery, not an open book with no surprises. He wants someone who challenges him to be better, not someone who accepts his crumbs. He wants a woman with her own world, not one whose life revolves only around him. And when you become that woman, not artificially, but through a genuine process of embracing your personal value, you awaken something primal and irresistible in him. The desire to pursue, to earn, and to prove his worth. What I am sharing with you is not just a technique to make a man value you more. It is a complete restructuring of your positioning in relationships. When you understand and apply these Jungian principles, it's not just how he sees you that changes, but most importantly, how you see yourself. This is a true revolution. Jung said that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. And when that relationship changes, all others inevitably follow. Think about it. What happens when you stop revolving around a man and start creating your own gravitational field? The dynamic changes completely. You stop being the one who waits, adapts, and accepts scraps of attention. You become the one who knows her value, who understands that her presence in someone else's life is a privilege, not a right. And this isn't arrogance, it's self-knowledge. It's the deep realization that you don't need to win someone's love. You should allow yourself to be won. The impact of this shift extends far beyond a specific relationship with one man. It spreads to all areas of your life. When you stop seeking external validation and start finding value within yourself, your energy changes. People around you feel this change even if they don't understand it rationally. You become magnetic not because you are trying to please, but because you are centered on your own axis. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, independent of external expectations. Here is a truth that few people understand. A man doesn't fall in love with what you do for him, but with how you make him feel about himself when he is with you. And paradoxically, the less you constantly validate his worth, the more valuable you become. The main revelation here is that correct ignoring is not a manipulative technique. It is a process of self-discovery and personal value that, as a side effect, makes him see you in a new light. You're not trying to change his behavior with psychological games. You are changing your relationship with yourself, and this naturally transforms the dynamic of the relationship. Some women ask me, "Isn't this pretending to be someone I'm not?" My answer is always the same. No, it's about stopping the pretense. Because when you are constantly available, always trying to please, and putting his needs above your own, you are not being authentic. You are wearing a mask, a social persona designed to please and gain approval. True authenticity begins when you respect your own needs, establish healthy boundaries, and refuse to accept less than you deserve. The ultimate impact of this knowledge is liberating. You realize that you will never again have to beg for attention. You will no longer have to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. And you will never again accept emotional crumbs when you deserve a full banquet. Do you finally understand that the key to being truly irresistible lies not in external techniques, but in a deep internal transformation? Jung believed that within each of us lies the potential to become who we truly are, free from conditioning and limiting patterns. By applying these principles in your life, you are taking a decisive step in that direction. You are not just learning to build better relationships with men. You are learning to respect your own path, your own value, your own light. And here is the most beautiful irony. It is precisely when you stop desperately needing a man's validation that you become most attractive to him. Not because you are playing a role, but because you are shining with your own light. The man who once took you for granted now sees something extraordinary in you, something beautiful that he won't easily find elsewhere. And it's not because you're pretending to be someone else, but because you have finally allowed your true essence, your real value, to shine through. This knowledge changes everything. It's not just about making him seek you out like never before, although that will certainly happen. It's about ensuring you never lose yourself again, trying to win someone's love. It's about a deep understanding that you are the prize to be won. And this confidence, this inner conviction, is what will truly transform all your relationships from this moment forward. If you've been impressed by the power of Jungian psychology in relationships, don't miss our next video. Say these 5 words and get the man you want. In it, I will reveal the exact words that activate the warrior archetype in the male, unconscious, making him feel an irresistible attraction to you on a level that goes beyond consciousness. These 5 specific words act as powerful psychological principles that Jung discovered in his research into the male mind, principles that very few women know. Click on the card that appears on the screen to watch the video now.